In our today's session, we shall see what is strategic intent. Now, before understanding the strategic management process, we shall see what do we mean by strategic intent. Now, is there anyone among you who can tell me what might be this strategic intent? Or do you have any idea as to what possibly could be strategic intent? Okay. Now, you might have heard this particular proverb, or you might have also experienced that anything that has been started well off with a good plan, we probably can guess what might what might happen in the future. When we know such things and we begin uh, a particular activity well, then we can regard, it has been already half done. So, having said this, the effectiveness of strategic management process, it largely depends upon how well we are able to specify the vision of the business organization, or how well can we clearly explain the company's vision. And in today's competitive world, or today's cutthroat competitive business environment, almost each and every organization would be busy all by itself to identify the unique source that it can have, and also it tries to bring in sustainable competitive advantage for itself. Now, to bring this sustainability, any business organization, it shall depend upon the organization's ability to identify for what purpose has the organization been established, and also its ends it intends to purpose or to pursue whatever it has thought of. Now, so to explain all these activities of why a business organization has started, what is the necessary of it existing, how shall it meet its organization objectives. Now, to explain all these fundamental building blocks, what we can call as of the strategic management process, two of the management thinkers called as Gary Hamel and C.K. Prahalad. Now, these were the two people who coined the term strategic intent way back in the year 1989. So now, despite its importance, now we can observe in many organizations. It can be a small organization, it can be a business organization, it can be organization, concerned to any type of the industry, or it might be producing any product or service. No matter what business it does, there are still many more organizations which are not clear about what their long-term strategic intent, and that is where they would be unable to maintain competitive strategic advantage in the long run. So, let us now just try to understand what might be the strategic intent, or what are the main elements that are included in strategic intent, and also let us know the importance and the benefits of strategic intent. So, as soon as we have to discuss the strategic intent, what we can tell is that, as we discussed earlier, no matter what kind of industry it is, no matter what size of business it is doing, any organization, it should be able to define, or it should be able to tell what is that they want to do. This this first question, that is what is that they exactly want to do. Now, any business organization, it should be able to define this. And also along with this, they should be able to tell why is that they want to do this particular activity. Okay, now these two questions, no matter what kind of business it does, no matter how big or small a business or the business is, every organization should be able to answer these questions. So this what is they want to do, it speaks about the end result that the organization wants to achieve through what they want to do. So the two questions are what they want to do and why they want to do. Now, this why they want to do, it is the end result. Now, it is always achieved by answering what they want to do. Now, this end result, that what we said, right? Why they want to do, that is the end result. Now, this end result is referred to as strategic intent. Now, to speak about this in simple words, strategic intent, it envisions, okay, a desired leadership position of the corporate. That is that where exactly one the organization wants to stand compared to that of others. Now, I mentioned two of the corporate management thinkers or writers. That is Hamel and Prasad. Now, they refer strategic intent to be the expression of the leadership positions the organization wants to attain and establishes a clear criteria on how progress towards its achievement will be measured. I'll repeat the definition once again. Expression of the leadership position the organization wants to attain and establishes a clear criteria on how progress towards its achievement will be measured. So, if we observe this particular definition that has been given, now it refers to the purpose that organization strives for, or what is that it wants to do exactly, what a firm should set out to achieve. Now, it is important to understand that strategic intent is internally focused. It is everything that the organization does, on everything that the organization has a control over. Now, strategic intent is concerned regarding those particular aspects. It also defines what will be produced and marketed. Now, utilizing its internal core competence. Now, having said this, as a name suggesting that, intent, it is related to future, whereas strategic includes clear plan of action designed to achieve organizational long-term goals. Now, so this strategic intent, it might be said as the plan of action. Now, this plan of action could be the mission of the company, it can be vision of the company, or it can be even the goal of the company. So it is defined as the plan of action which considered to be very important for any organization it could be. As this plan of action or this mission, vision and goal, they are the things which aligns or which makes the organizational activities with the goal itself. Now you can see the slide what has been mentioned or what is being displayed. See, now strategic intent is the purpose the organization works for or strives for. Now these may be expressed in terms of hierarchy of strategic intent. Broadly stated for corporated organizations as it could be vision statement or mission statement. Now, now if this corporate intent has to be precisely mentioned, it can be said in terms as goals or objectives. Now, this strategic intent it has three attributes, that is sense of direction, sense of discovery and sense of destiny. So what are these? Now, uh, to explain what strategic intent is all about in a clear way or with full clarity, now it becomes important for any business organization to have a long-term sense of view about what could be the future markets for the organization and also to understand the consumer, and by knowing and having all this information, the firm should be able to design and also identify the competitive position that it wants to build for the organization over the coming future. Maybe if we have to mention in terms of time for the coming decade, we can tell. So, now, this is where it becomes very much important to have a unifying and personalizing sense of direction. Sense of direction, no, it tells where the organization is moving towards. Now, in that path, where shall you see the organization in the coming future, maybe in 10 years, as we said. So, it gives a personalizing sense of direction so that there is no confusion in terms of where the organization is heading towards. That is what sense of direction speaks of. Now, once the organization knows the sense of direction, the next one is sense of discovery. So, what might be this sense of discovery? Now, once the organization knows in clarity the sense of direction, now it becomes once again important that the company's strategic intent, what there is, it should always retain a sense of uh, discovery, and also it should include excitement about the future. Now, why this excitement is necessary or why this discovery is necessary? Because these attributes now they help in acting as great motivational elements, and also when we speak about excitement, yes, it is a kind of motivation. And when we are speaking regarding discovery, this sense of discovery it provides an opportunity to the employees of the organization, to explore new things or to explore new competitive territory. In the process, it creates a competitively unique outlook for the firm so that it can outshine its competitors or be a leader in the market. Now, one more attribute of strategic intent is the sense of destiny. So, not only having understanding where the organization is heading towards, not only having this motivation and excitement towards what is being done in the organization, and also giving opportunity to the employees, it is also important to understand, you know, as us, it is also important to understand strategic intent. It has an emotional edge to it. That is to tell, the employees of the organization should own this strategic intent so that they are able to work hard to realize the desirable strategic intent. Now, all the stakeholders in the organization should pursue the strategic intent as inherently worthwhile and channelize all their efforts towards realizing the strategic intent of the organization. Now, having seen this dimension of strategic intent, now the main aim of having this well defined, or what we call as a, effective strategic intent, now it is to make sure that the employees of the organization, they understand what it is, that they should believe and work according to what the strategic intent speaks of. So, this strategic insight should be such a thing which is well defined logic and should communicate and urge among, or it should motivate its employees to discover the future. Now, the future, definitely the organization has mentioned in its vision. So it knows what it wants to be. So the strategic intent should not only be, able to discover the future, but should be able to discover the intended future of the organization. Now, this perspective is very important for the vitality of the employees. So, having spoken about this strategic intent, now this expression is to help the individuals who are working in the organization and also the organization to share the common intention of one another, so as to survive and also to continue or to extend themselves through time and space in this competitive one. And that's where it goes without telling, strategic intent is a long term goal, which should be ambitious, and also it should be built upon the core competency of the business organization. And also it should be able to stress the core competency of the organization as well. Now, since strategic intent works like an obsession for an organization, now there is always a possibility that it might result in the resource and capability gap. So, now this is something that in understanding strategic intent, one must be aware of. So, this capability gap might arise because of what it wants to and what it actually has. So in order to ensure that the resource and capability gap does not become a problem in achieving the desired future position, the firm should also identify this gap and also put some kind of effort to build a bridge or to close this gap, enabling the firm to achieve its desired future position. So the concept of strategic management, it also includes what we call as active management process, in which all the employees are included. So it focuses on providing leadership in terms of maybe motivating and communicating people to contribute in a very creative way. So the job of leadership is also to ensure that the motivation among the employees is sustained, over a long time period, irrespective of what changes in their circumstances. Now, these are all fine, but along with this, there is one more thing that has to be kept in mind when developing strategic intent. That is the resource allocation. Now, it should be seen to that this resource allocation is done properly so that there is no any constraint. That is to tell, in simple words, to speak about strategic intent, it is the contribution of the vision and the intent. That is, if we have to speak about vision, where we want to get to, and if we have to speak about intent, it is how we intend to get there, or how is that you want to reach there. That is to tell in simple words. Now, your vision might be you have to travel from Mangalore to Bangalore. That is vision. Now, what is intent? How do you intend to get there? Now, you have to travel, whether you would be using any public transport. Will it be bus? Would it be airline? Would it be through railways? Or would you go on your own vehicle? Would you go on a rented vehicle? So that is intention. And vision is reaching the destination. So that is all about what strategic intent is. Now, um, let us now see the hierarchy of strategic intent. Now, to ensure that the organization is able to, realize its strategic intent. Now, this strategic intent, it has a hierarchy. Now, in the hierarchy, definitely, now we spoke about three, that is vision, mission, or objective. So, in this hierarchy, we have vision, mission, objective, goals, and plan. Now you can see how the hierarchy of strategic intent works. See, now vision is at the highest or the uppermost level in the pyramid and is followed by the mission of the company, which is followed by goals. Then to realize the goals, we have objectives, and to realize each of the objective, we would be having n number of plans. Now we can also see that as we move higher in the pyramid, now these strategic intent, they become more integrative. Okay, and as we move down in the pyramid, the strategic intent, they become more specific. Now, integrative tells it includes a lot of dimensions, a lot of activities, a lot of departments. More specific means that it is concerned with one particular thing, one thing at a time. That is being more specific. On the right side, we can say that as we move higher in the pyramid, the different strategic intent that has been mentioned in this slide, they become fewer and fewer in number. And as we move down towards the pyramid, the number of things will be more and more. That is to tell, if there is one plan, then to realize, if there is one vision, then there shall be 10 mission to complete this one mission. There might be 100 goals to finish off or to successfully complete this missions. There might be 10,000, thousand of objectives to realize the goals of the organization. There might be 10,000 plans to realize the objectives. See, now it includes definitely vision, mission, objectives, goals, and plan. So the framework within which firms operate, they adopt, a predetermined direction and also attempt to achieve their goals, which is provided by static intent. So now you have already discussed all this, but in a very brief way, let us try to understand what these are. Now, speaking about the first one, it is vision. Now, as you can see in the slide, it is as the highest in the hierarchy of strategic intent, and this always reflects the aspiration of the organization, the aim of the organization. Now, speaking about time horizon, it shall always be a long term goal of the organization, which it wants to accomplish in the future. Now, this vision, it would definitely be formed or developed even before starting the business. Therefore, it always aligns every employee's work within the organization's long term goal. Now, it is what that organization aspires to be in the future, or it is the first element that the organization focus upon, and to achieve it, it acts accordingly to other activities. Now, if I have to put this in the form of question, vision is nothing but what I want my business to be. Now, if you are able to tell this, you would be able to come with the vision for your organization. The next one in the pyramid is the mission. Now, it speaks about unique purpose or the fundamental unique purpose which will allow a business apart from other firms, or which would make or which would differentiate one business from that of all other. Now, mission is something which is able to answer the question why organization exists, and also it is able to define the direction or the path to achieve the vision of the organization. So mission statement, it would be written process that communicates why this organization is even existing. Now, if this has to be put up in terms of a question, then definitely it is like what my business is and what does my business does. Now, the next one is goal. Now, these goals, they speak about what an organization hopes to accomplish in the future period of time. Now, these are tactical objectives that organizations management defines to speak about the predictable future outcome, and also to guide the effort of the employees towards achieving these results. Now, if goal has to be put in terms of question, it is nothing but what will get my business there. Now, after this, we have objectives. Now it is becoming more and more specific. Now, normally these objectives, they are the end state. They specific how the goals can be achieved. Now, the objectives of the organization would be, in short-term basis or medium-term goals, which the organization wants to accomplish. Now, these objectives they play a very important role uh, in things like formulating policies for business and even the allocation of the resources at right place. That is to tell, right person at right place. So now the last one in the hierarchy is plan. Now it definitely includes deciding about future in advance. Now these plans it helps to achieve the long-term objective of the firm and also monitoring explicit strategy to achieve all this. Now human resource allocation can also be considered as one of the important aspects of the planning. So this is the hierarchy of strategic intent. So now we shall move towards effective formulation of strategic intent, or how can we build effective strategic intent for our business. Now it might depend on the following that has been displayed on your presentation. The first and foremost, now to have an effective strategic intent, there should be commitment from every level of management. Now all the management levels, that is the lower, the middle and the higher level management, it asks that they should be committed towards pursuing the specific significant performance criteria that the organization has come up with. Now, what the second thing that is very important for effective formulation of strategic management is the belief of the employees. That is, the employees should always believe in their company's value proposition, and also they should create products which would be able to meet the expectations of the consumers. The employees should have belief in the value proposition, and they should also work in such a way that they are able to put such a product or service which would give satisfaction what the customers intends to have. The next one speaks about the competitive advantage. That is to tell the employees of the organization. Now they should, entirely focus on the firm's ability to outperform their competitors, and thereby they should ensure sustainable competitive advantage. Now speaking about this stretch. Now strategic intent, it implies stretch of an organization. Now, as any intentions are always ambitious and are beyond fit, now organizations will have to stretch its resources, and also it should be able to stretch its capabilities beyond the limit what it has. Now, next one, it should be able to find if there are any kind of misfits. That is to tell, definitely in the pursuit of having these objectives and achieving all these objectives, the organization will face, misfits between the ambition of the organization and the present resource that the organization is having. So now we have discussed regarding this. So as discussed, there can be resource capability gap, which the firm should provide provision for, and also try to identify how it wants to fill this gap that is existing in the capacity or the resource capacity, what we tell. Now, last but not least, whenever it is necessary, the organization has to build new competences and also capabilities to achieve its vision. Now, according to Hamil and Prahalad, organization should learn how to leverage resource, which is important for the organization's long-term success. So let us now see the process of strategic intent. The first one is defining the strategic intent. Then, once after defining the strategic intent, the next one is to identify uh, different kinds of challenging situations that are to be faced. And last one is implementation of strategic intent. Now, speaking about the strategic intent, the organizations, they are supposed to define their strategic intent at a very early age. Now, this strategic intent, it is asked that it should involve all those factors which would be able to guide the organization towards pursuit of certain goals. It should direct the organization as to where it moves, and also it should be able to influence firm's day-to-day activities. So it becomes necessary for every organization to set up their master plan, what we can call as. The next one is identifying challenging situation. Now, while framing all these strategies and objectives, the firms, they are required to identify the potential challenges the organization should face. Uh, Now, it can be in the future or present, and it should be able to communicate all these challenging situations uh, with every employee in the organization. Now, why that is necessary is that so that the employees would understand the situation of the company, and thereby they should be able to contribute towards achieving all the intended strategies of the organization. Or this is what calls for the commitment from the side of the employees. The last one is the implementation of strategic intent. Now, that is to tell if the problems that are understood by the organization. Now, if they are clearly defined and if they are communicated within business, the next step is to implement or to give power to implement strategic intent in the organization. Once after implementation, it should also be analyzed that if all these strategic intent are moving along. Now, if there are any kind of deviations, then once again it should be seen to that all such deviations are nullified or they are solved. Now, in solving, it might also ask for adjusting few things or adding new resources or coming up with a new plan, or it might also sometimes include changing the entire strategy in whole. So now we shall see some of the importance of strategic intent. Now these are now importance of strategic intent. It also speaks about why is that our organization should have clear and well defined strategy. What makes organization to come up with this, or why is it the organization is to have a well defined strategic intent is same as the importance. Now first one is, now this strategic intent, now it is something which helps the individuals and also the organization to share their common intention to survive in this business world and also to continue or to extend themselves through time and space. The first and the foremost is that now who are working in the organization and also the organization as whole, now it has to know what is the common intention that they share in surviving, in continuing, and also in extending. The second one is it allows to achieve clarity of purpose among all the members and all the employees. So, when there is clarity among these two levels of management, it calls in for coordination, it calls for cooperation, and also it results in reducing the conflict among this level of management. Now, this having a strategic intent, now it projects a sense of worth and intention to all the stakeholders of the organization. Now each one would know their importance in the organization, realizing its objective, that they'll know that they are also a part of the organization, that they are also a part of in realizing the objective of the organization. And undoubtedly when the strategic intention intent is well defined, it is clear, it is logical in working, it helps in optimum utilization of resources. Now, not only optimum utilization of resources, but also it helps in optimum allocation of resources also. Now, when we speaking about resources, this can be financial resources, it can be non-financial resource, or it includes both financial resources and non-financial resources. Now, the next thing is that having a very good vision for one's own organization. Now it always will act as a source of inspiration to the employees who are working in the organization. Now, when you know in clarity what is that you are expected to do, what is your duty, what role do you have, the authority that is given to you, when you know all these things in clarity, it shall definitely brings role clarity among employees. Once again, it would help in increasing cooperation and coordination and reducing the conflict. Now, uh, we spoke about discovery, creativity. Now, strategic intent. It also fosters risk taking and experimentation among employees. And as we discussed earlier, uh, it makes the organization competitive, original, and always unique in nature. And this having strategic intent, it also promotes logical implementation of the plans. Now there shall be a specific plan as to how each and everything works in the organization. It can be the smallest work, a simplest work, to the complex ones and to the biggest ones. Now each thing shall be defined very well. Now, this strategic intent, it also creates synergy. Synergy is when we tell the whole is greater than the sum of the parts put together. Now it creates synergy, especially in the efforts of the firm, due to the common desired strategic in direction that the organization shares. Now, strategic intent, it tries to provide a focal point for all the stakeholders in the organization. And by doing all this activity, it tries to enable superior organizational performance and therefore it enhances shareholders' value. And last but not least, it also tries to resolve any kind of conflict among having different views, especially among the managers of the organization. So these are some of the importance of strategic intent, or these are some of the point which tells that why is it necessary that the organization develops a well defined strategic intent for itself.